Alright, so first off the bat, as you can kind of see, this is a different GUI than what I'm used to using. That's because this is XFCE. The other thing you might notice is that there is a different logo here. Usually that's the Linux Mint logo. This is the Manjaro logo. And that is because I am no longer using Linux Mint. And there's kind of a reason for that. And that's what I'm going to talk about here. So first off, this is a Lenovo ThinkPad L15 Gen 1. It, as you can see, has a Ryzen 7 Pro 4750U. Now the problem I had with Linux Mint is, like I said in the last video, it's always little things. Whether it's Flatpak not working, I couldn't update the kernel to the latest kernel without shit breaking. Then I had problems where my video thumbnails weren't working anymore. And just like a bunch of shit was going wrong with having Linux Mint on this laptop. So I started looking elsewhere. Now, in terms of GUIs, I prefer Cinnamon or XFCE. I like Cinnamon just a bit more because it's a little bit more user-friendly than XFCE, and it's a little newer. But there are things you can do to make XFCE look pretty good, and that's what I've done here. First off, you can see I have an icon-only style taskbar, so if I go to panel preferences here, I'm going to go to items. You can see that I have the dock-like taskbar. So that's one of the ways you can make it look a little newer. And then of course I have my weather and shit. And that's how I have my panel set up. So as you can see here, that's it charging. Then I have the weather. I have my calendar. Sound. The other thing is I can actually use the buttons on my keyboard. I can't turn off notifications completely and use the buttons like I can with Cinnamon, but that's really not that big of a fucking deal, honestly. What I really like, though, is the amount of packages. So if we go to Pamac here, you have, by default, Arch has a lot of packages, but what's really cool is, if I can put in my password right now, so as you can see, we have the AUR, so that's going to give us even more packages, but we also have Snap and Flatpak. So I have Flatpak on, but Snap off because I don't really like Snap packages. That's just me, I prefer Flatpak. But I do have one Snap package. And so the reason why I have one Snap package is actually because, as I've said before, in one of my videos, there are some things Linux can't do. One of those things, for example, is the Kindle application for the desktop. You might be wondering why, who gives a shit? Why bother? That sort of thing. And another thing I've talked about is that you don't actually own anything when you buy digital. A lot of the times, that is the case. With Amazon, for example, if you buy music, you can download it regardless of what operating system you're using, and it's DRM free. You can put it on whatever the fuck you want. That's not the case with ebooks. So there's an accessory that I use to strip the DRM off of ebooks, and that accessory is only available on Windows and Mac. And I honestly can't fucking use Windows anymore, honestly. I just fucking can't. I stopped using Windows, really, during when Vista came out, actually. I actually made a video about this. I've used 7 a little bit, not as a daily driver. I've used it maybe for a few minutes here or there whenever I had to go to the library and look something up. Um, I've tested it out and used it for random shit here and there, but I've never actually used it as a daily OS. And what I had been doing is on my old laptop is I had a spare hard drive, so I'd take the hard drive out and I'd put the replacement hard drive in, and the replacement hard drive had uh, Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC. I think the 2019 version, and that's because it uses less resources. It doesn't have Cortana or any of the bullshit. Um, I don't want to use Windows ever. It just feels like they're trying to give up on Windows, and I don't want to use it. That's just me. So what I had done is this is a flat pack called Susumi. And one of the great things about this laptop is I don't have to constantly take out the fucking hard drive to use another operating system. I can actually use a virtual machine. So if we do this, and just let this run for a second, this does use half my RAM. So this laptop only has 8 gigs of RAM. I'm going to be upgrading that in the future. I just want to show this off for a second. And then I'll get the fuck out of it, because it's going to eat up all my RAM. And as you can see, I'll just log in here for a second. Now I had tried to use manjaro cinnamon, but I had some issues with that, and I'll talk about my distro hopping in a second. So as you can see, I have to hit Control-Alt-G for a second. And there we go. So this is Mac OS. Everything works perfectly. I actually like using Mac OS. Can't believe I'd ever say that in my life, but this is Catalina, and it works perfectly for what I need it to. So distro hopping, what I had tried was, so obviously I tried Manjaro. I tried Artix, which is also Arch-based. I tried Arco Linux. I tried OpenSUSE. I tried Fedora. All the usual candidates. And I really wanted to use Arch. One, because it's one of those distros that's kind of, got a bad rap. By the way, I use Arch and shit. Because it is much harder to use. Even I've shit on it in the past because, the terminal manager, the Pac-Man terminal, whatever the fuck you want to call it, instead of typing in sudo apt install or zipper apt, not zipper apt, sudo zipper install for OpenSUSE, or with Fedora it's sudo dnf install. Even Gentoo, it's sudo, I think, emerge, and then the package name. It's very easy to go from Gentoo to OpenSUSE to Fedora to Red Hat to Debian to Ubuntu, because they all pretty much have a similar install process. With Pac-Man, that's not the fucking case. With Pac-Man, it's sudo Pac-Man dash capital S, and then the package name, which is a little different than what I'm used to, because I started on Debian when Vista came out, and I just preferred to use a package manager That's the word I was looking for earlier. I prefer to use a package manager that's similar to what I know already. I don't want to have to learn something new, and that's kind of what came down to me not wanting to use Arch. That and the fact that for whatever reason, I've never been able to install Arch on a USB stick, no matter what USB flasher I ever fucking used, and I've used pretty much every single one of them. I'd always have issues where the file system didn't exist, and the only time it ever worked is if I burned it to a DVD. And what's really weird is um, I actually found that some with Artix, which is Arch based, some of them worked and some of them didn't from USB. The same thing goes with Arch, Manjaro here, which is Arch based. So apparently USB sticks do work, but it's really hit or miss, and I don't know what the fuck the problem would be there. All I know is I have it installed. As you can see, everything's working fine. The reason why I didn't go with the community edition of Cinnamon is because there was something wrong there, where the Light DM manager fucking crashed, and I'm not putting up with that, because, if I can't log in, I can't save my files because the entire system's encrypted, so I basically lose all my shit, and it's not something I want to fucking deal with. Again, it's good to have routine backups for this reason, but I'd prefer just use, the one maintained by the actual developers, so it's more stable, as opposed to a community edition where something might go wrong, like your Light DM manager not working, which is the login screen, by the way. So, Manjaro is what I'm using, and I'm pretty happy with it. And overall, I've pretty much themed it exactly how I wanted. So if we go to, I don't know if NeoFetch is installed. It's not. So this is a great example. So on Debian systems, for example, like I just said, it would be apt install. On Red Hat, it would be DNF install. On OpenSUSE, it would be Zipper. On Gentoo, it would be a merge. But what you do here is you type pacman. That is the package manager. Then you do dash, capital S, install. So pacman-s instead of apt. It's confusing to learn something new. That's a little different. That's all. And it's me being a stubborn asshole, pretty much. Is why I've always hated Arch. I'm a stubborn asshole. I don't like different shit. Give me something similar any day. Enter my password. Oh, right. You do not need the word install on Arch. You see, I can't even fucking use it. So sudo pacman-s, and then the package. Alright. So now, if we type in neofetch, there we go. Right off the bat, I kind of like that this isn't like some random bullshit. It's actually a stable, like, looks like a JPEG. So this is the 20 U700 VUS ThinkPad L15 Gen 1. We are on kernel 5.12-1-2. 4 snap packages. I know I installed Sasumi. What other snap packages have I used? That's weird. Uh, Maybe some of the things assume you need it. I don't fucking know. 1920 by 80. We got the latest version of XFC. We got the Mint, Linux Mint themes, because Linux Mint themes are awesome. We got Papyrus, of course. We got XFC Terminal. Yada yada yada. Bunch of shit. Um, so overall, this is a great laptop. I'm not gonna lie. This is much better than my Q720 from Intel. The i7 Q720 with a Radeon 4000 series graphics card. I can actually do virtualization. I can actually do shit. This is an 8-core, 16-thread CPU. It's got built-in graphics. Everything works fucking fabulous. Um, Overall, this is, everything's working great. And 8-core, 16-thread. Everything's working great. Um, I'm very happy with this laptop. There are a few things I'm not uh, good with, and that's not really that big a deal. Uh, the RAM I did on purpose. I bought the 8 gigs on purpose. I'd rather upgrade it than pay, an extra arm and a leg for a RAM. That's the case with any laptop manufacturer. You're going to pay more to get RAM installed by default as opposed to just upgrading it yourself. Um, there's only 2 USB inputs on this, and then there's a USB-C. The USB-C is also what they charge with. I'm not really cool with that, honestly. I'd prefer to have more USBs and a barrel charger. USB-C for laptops just seems dumb to me, but I'm old-fashioned. Chalk it up to old man barks at the moon, or whatever the fuck you want to do, I don't care. But I'd just rather have a barrel plug. Um, Oh, and this was supposed to have a backlit keyboard, so I'm gonna have to upgrade the fucking keyboard. That's gonna cost me like $90. Um, I'll actually be able to learn how to use Blender finally, now that I have a proper laptop. This one does have a numpad, so that's cool. It's one of the reasons why I bought this. Um, and that kind of brings me to my next point. Is I'll actually be able to edit videos much better on this as well. Um, the biggest issue I have really with laptops nowadays is almost every laptop that comes out like with high-end specs has a 10 keyless keyboard, which basically means that there's no numpad. And they push gaming a little too hard. And they occasionally say, "Oh, you can also do like content creation and whatnot on it." And I'm like, it's kind of hard to do content creation without a actual numpad, at least for me. Um, if you're doing office work or Blender or shit like that, you kind of need a numpad. Trying to learn Blender without a numpad is a pain in the ass. And from what I've read, that seems to be agreed upon people who use Blender. Um, so, if I'm doing any sort of professional shit, I'd just rather have a numpad, honestly, and this one has it, so it's one of the reasons why I got the ThinkPad. Um, the other thing I don't like about the ThinkPad is to remove the keyboard is rather actually pretty simple, but to upgrade the memory, and I actually bought a 500 gig M.2 storage for this, which by the way is somehow even better than SATA. Um, that's no shit, but you gotta remember, I just bought my PS3. Uh, Growing up, all I had was Nintendo shit, so I bought my PS3, I want to say 2 years ago now, and that was when I bought a SATA SSD for that. That was the first time, even though SSDs have been around for a while, that was my first time actually using one. I've always been, really late to fucking everything on tech, even though I know more than my fair share about how it works and stuff. So I was really surprised when I finally got to use one, just how light they actually are. Um, and now I get to use an M.2 drive. So I'm actually happy with that. But I will be upgrading the 500 gig to the maximum of a terabyte. And that's kind of the other thing I don't like about this laptop. Um, because it's using M.2, it limits how much storage you can put into it, which I think is kind of fucking stupid. So the max I could put in this would be a terabyte. Um, I'd prefer if they just use typical SATA, but what are you going to fucking do? Um, I also have to buy a new tool set for like repair and shit. Preferably one that comes with like a spudger, because when I opened up the bottom with this, I basically used a screwdriver I had laying around that worked for it, and a old credit card. That's what I've been using for a spudger for the longest time, is an old credit card, and it's not exactly the best idea, because that credit card eventually like shreds up and just becomes fucking terrible to use for anything. So it truly is worthless. So yeah. Um, so yeah, that's my new setup. I'm officially using Arch. Um, I'm going to be using Manjaro as my daily driver from now on. I'm going to be using XFCE. And for my secondary OS, for the few things Linux can't do, I don't need to install a second hard drive or anything. I can just launch a virtual machine, which is fantastic. Um, and I'm going to be using macOS going forward in the future for the few things Linux can't do. Simply because there's less privacy invasive bullshit in macOS. Um, it's more stable. Like Linux, it's got a common ancestor in Unix. Uh, it's just a better operating system. And the one thing I hate about Apple is for all their innovation and all the good shit they do, I really think they fuck it up with their hardware. And I said this when I reviewed the Apple TV HD I have, which I'm no longer using. Um, quick rundown: I'm using my old Roku right now, simply because there's things I want to watch in 4K on YouTube, and the Apple can't do that because I bought the HD version. Um, Not to say I hate the Apple TV. There are a few things I don't like about it, but overall, the Apple TV is the best streaming device. But outside of that, their hardware sucks. And it really, really just baffles me that they can create such a great ecosystem, which you could argue wouldn't be the best thing because, it kind of traps you in a walled garden, and I would agree. Um, it's good not to be trapped in a walled garden and be able to, bounce from one thing to another if you want. Um, but there is something to be said about, the walled garden that they have created. Um, if you're a normie and not like someone who's, like me, who can use Linux, install an operating system, rebuild a computer, take apart a laptop, take apart a game console, fix the game console, and all this other shit, um, maybe macOS is for you if you're just a normie. I do kind of like some of the normie things that come out. I prefer ease of use and simplicity, as opposed to having to install an operating system like Arch from scratch. Um, I just prefer that simplicity. But I do understand from the normie standpoint why it's so simple to it's something nice to have. It's nice to just be able to use something and not have to worry about blue screens of death and oh, I updated my Windows computer and now my fucking file system's gone or some shit, which seems to be happening more and more with Windows these days. Um, but the iPhone 6 had the Bendgate issue or whatever the fuck it was. They've removed the headphone jack. Um, they've done all this shit. Um, and, the anti-right to repair is another thing I don't like them for. So I wouldn't buy their hardware unless it's an Apple TV. But I do think they could make more money if they, sold their operating system and supported like more hardware. I understand why they wouldn't. Obviously, they're a vertical integration type of company where they control the hardware, the software, and literally everything about the product, as opposed to someone like Windows who just provides you with an operating system and, come what may. Um, and that vertical integration leads to more stability, yes, but I mean, it's already stable enough because it's, an ancestor of macOS is Unix, and Unix is ridiculously stable. It's also old as shit. Um, but overall, I do like the OS that they've made. I do think it works much better than Windows, and I do like the fact that I don't have to worry about it. It is a bit more of a pain in the ass to install on a virtual machine. Obviously, I'm not going to go out and buy a fucking MacBook. And I'd prefer to use FOSS software, honestly, free and open source software. Um, but for everything Linux can't do, I will be using macOS. Um, and I'm looking forward to maybe getting a new Apple 4K, Apple TV 4K in the future, maybe. I don't know. Um, there are quite a few things I don't like about Roku to this day that kind of make it frustrating to use. I have found workarounds for all of those, so maybe I'll continue to use Roku and save my money. I honestly don't know at this point. The biggest problem I have with Roku that I can't find a workaround for is the way fast forward works. Just isn't as good as the Apple, and that's really the biggest one. I stopped using the TiVo and shit that I bought, and it's just sitting in a box, simply because I couldn't turn off HDR. Um, Most apps are only available for Roku and Apple anyways, but it's one of the things where, like, Apple created a product I actually want to use, but they kind of fucked it up. The new dynamic mode on the Apple TV, fucking shit. Breaks the dark theme, and it's really fucking sad. Um, the fact that I can't delete, their built-in integrated apps like I could on Roku, kind of sucks. Uh, and the fact that I had to take an old Android phone that I had from like 5 years ago out the closet, because it had Google Play on it, download Apple Music just so I could download apps on their Apple TV. It's shit like that I don't like. Um, and goes back to that walled garden. If I was in the walled garden, it wouldn't have been an issue. But because I'm not in that walled garden, it's kind of an inconvenience. Um, and that's kind of Apple for you. They make shitty hardware that's built to fucking break and not last, and they fucking screw you over, and they try to rip you off. They don't want you fixing your shit. They do stupid shit with their MP3 players, where, you're used to just copying and pasting a file like you would a flash drive, and no, now you have to learn a new way to do it. And it's shit like that I've always hated Apple for. But credit where credit is due, their operating system is actually good. I just wish they would knock it the fuck off with the anti-consumer shit, and stop trying to make, how do I put this? Stop trying to redo shit that doesn't need to be redone. Uh, there was no reason, in my opinion, to make a new way to copy and paste files onto a fucking MP3 player. That was fucking stupid. There's no reason to sell hardware that's built to fucking break because their engineering team apparently can't fucking do their job. Um, shit like that. And it's one of the reasons why I'm never going into that walled garden and spending, the thousands of dollars they want for an iPhone and all this other shit. Um, I'm more than happy to use Lineage OS. I'm more than happy to use Linux. I'm more than happy to use even Ubuntu Touch for my phone uh, if that matures. I'm not going to go out and buy an iPhone. I'm not going to go out and buy a MacBook. Um, I'm just not that type of person. But that's just me. But overall, that's basically been my rant on Apple. Uh, Now, what I hate about Lenovo is I can't get my fucking money back for the Windows operating system this fucking thing came with. And they had the balls to fucking say to my face on fucking Twitter that the reason why they can't sell a computer without an operating system is for security and privacy reasons, which is the most asinine, stupid fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no privacy or security risk to a computer without an operating system because there is no fucking operating system. So what privacy and security are you protecting? There's fucking nothing on the computer. And apparently they also said that by me buying the computer, I involuntarily, without knowing, signed a contract, which is fucking stupid and possibly illegal. I don't know. I'm not a fucking lawyer, but it sounds like it might be illegal. Um, it sounds like it should be illegal, actually. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but it definitely should be. It's really fucking sketchy. But uh, when companies like Dell or HP or Lenovo, in this case Lenovo, because I bought a ThinkPad, when they accept to install Windows on the operating system, what Windows doesn't really tell them, and I'm pretty sure they don't, if they do, that brings up a whole new set of questions. If I don't agree to the terms of service of Windows, it doesn't matter if I bought your product from Best Buy or fucking Office Max in this case. You are responsible for giving me the refund for the Windows license. Uh, and Lenovo's fucking terms of service kind of contradict that, so they're not liable for shit. And it's anti-consumer shit that really makes me fucking hate these companies. Um, but what the fuck are you gonna do? The laptop cost me about $1,000, a little over $1,000 actually. I think it's like $1,079. I'm gonna have to spend another $80-$90 on a fucking backlit keyboard because it was supposed to come with one, and I'm gonna call Office Max this week actually about that to see if they can help me out. If not, I'm fucking stuck with the cost. Um, and then I gotta upgrade the RAM so I can do more virtualization and I want to learn computer coding and actually transition because I majored in art in high school. I did very well with like drawing and shit by hand. I've always done very well with that. But now I have to kind of unlearn that and learn a different way to do it. And this laptop's really going to help me with, you know, going down that route of learning graphic design and learning computer coding. And I'm really happy to have it. And I wouldn't have been able to get it if it wasn't for the stimulus check, honestly. Because I'm, struggling to find work. That's been the case because, you need experience to get a job, but you need a job to get experience. That whole fucking catch-22 bullshit. And I'm on disability, so disability doesn't pay shit. And that's basically where I'm going to wrap up this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. The reason why I went with XFCE though is because aside from, it being a good GUI, it's very lightweight, which basically leaves more room for programs. So that's in case you're wondering why. So, yep, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.